Welcome to In Presence We Trust, a podcast about the art and heart of holding group transformational spaces. I'm Rachel Rickards, founder of the Field Facilitator Training. In Presence We Trust is a sanctuary for aspiring and experienced facilitators seeking to evolve their facilitation and embodied leadership. In each episode, I will be harvesting insights from leading-edge facilitators doing transformational work in fields like relationship, embodiment, therapy, intimacy, education, and sexuality. In this episode, I'm joined by a very special guest, Miss Ilan Stefani. Ilan is a cutting-edge somatic researcher, world-renowned group facilitator, and down-to-earth modern mystic. She focuses on embodiment tools, health, sexuality, collective trauma healing, and mysticism, and gained nationwide attention with her best-selling book. Based in Berlin, Ilan's unique journey began in sex work, where she developed a deep passion for unlearning cultural conditioning and reclaiming natural orgasmic aliveness. Her work focuses on shifting collective paradigms and creating sacred spaces where individuals can explore their deepest truths. With a blend of curiosity, humor, and commitment to ongoing research, Ilan emphasizes the importance of fostering environments that invite authenticity, vulnerability, and human connection. In the conversation you're about to hear, Ilan and I dive into the profound challenges and great rewards of being group facilitators. We explore how energetic dynamics play out in group settings, the necessity of embracing destruction and death as part of the spiritual journey, and the urgency for authentic connection in today's world. Ilan shares insights on the interplay between mind and body, how going all in and being fully committed is the fuel for transformation and the sacred fire that ignites as a natural response when we fully engage with life in this way. Through this dialogue, you'll discover the transformative power of embodiment, darkness, and the spiritual path to deeper consciousness, as well as hearing about our collaboration. Sacred Fire, Awakening Primal Power is a 4-day immersion happening at the end of November just outside of Berlin, where Ilan and I will be your guides. If you're ready to begin, join me in taking a deep breath. Thank you for being here with me and taking this time together. Yeah, I'm really excited too because I get to selfishly get to know you a little bit better now. We've been put together in so many very funny ways. Like life has been. We even took a training together and were put together as roommates without even knowing each other or selecting each other. And then we're chosen to be in a women's group together without ever knowing each other. So life keeps saying like, you're meant to be together. And I appreciate that now we consciously choose, like we want to be together.
Yeah, true. Feels very inspiring. And also I remember very vividly experiencing you the very first times. I was like, okay, I'm very interested in the kind of embodiment that this woman radiates in. So I was very intrigued by this opportunity to getting to know you better and merging with our bodies of work.
Yes. Speaking of which, so I want to know, just starting off, because I actually don't know this. I don't know how you came to be a group facilitator. Like, I don't know what those pivotal moments were for you and what you did, if there was anything that you did before group facilitation. And so I'm curious just to learn a little bit, like, what were the pivotal moments that brought you here to say, yes, I want to facilitate groups. And that is my path for now, or my journey, or my art.
I think it was a combination of different aspects. One aspect is that I love language and I love being vocal. And when I am passionate about something, it's just my medium to overflow. And not overflowing would feel like putting violence into my nervous system. So I have to overflow. I have to do it in the way that works for me. So it is in words. So people will be listening. So voila, we have the group there. So it's something like that. And No, I mean, I have been a sex worker for 2 years before I started group facilitation. But to some extent, no, there has never been another profession that really made me passionate and that really made me feel like, okay, this is a state of being, facilitating a group where I will love to be a lifelong student in. So group facilitation is everything that I desire to learn from life itself. It's all the nakedness, it's all the power, it's all the purity. And in the beginning, I was very passionate about learning tantric body work and breath work and bioenergetics. And then a friend of mine had something like a living room in Berlin, and she had like, okay, let's use this living room for a group of women. And then I remember doing a group for women every Thursday evening for 3 hours. And with a lot of discipline for several years, we women would come and I would do this group for women for 3 hours, like for maybe 3 years, without any kind of fame or any kind of big output in the world. And I think it's very important to be disciplined around, I will just expose my nervous system to this situation, being in front of the group and to some extent being responsible for the container. I will expose myself to this again and again and again, even though it doesn't pay off. It doesn't pay off in terms of finances. It doesn't pay off in terms of time, etc. So I think this is how I learned my craft. And I really learned it on the street. And it's not that I learned group facilitation on the street, but also like my whole methodology, so to speak, it also purely comes from the street. So yes, we did a training together. Yes, I have done several certifications. However, what I rely on at the end of the day is the flexibility that I learned in countless situations of conflict, of breakdown, of disaster, of honestly, of mistakes, a lot of mistakes that I did. So that's my path. It's like in the beginning, it was a love affair without any, like real or rational payoff. And then it was like, okay, if we stay together for that long and it doesn't pay off it doesn't pay off that much, then we are meant to be with each other. And I think from there, it was just a matter of time until I became more vocal also by writing about my experience in sex work, which gave me a huge stage where people wanted to be in touch with me around this topic. And then this, being vocal around topics of aliveness and breaking through with taboos and questioning concepts and liberating our own sexual truth, all of that became something it had an own dynamic. And I just had to say yes to it. And from there, I think group facilitation, from there, my groups grew bigger, so to speak. It was a group and not 4 women in Berlin. So that's the kind of narrative and background of the story.
So let's go. I mean, I'm sure we could spend this whole time speaking about your experience of as a sex worker, and I'll let people read your book to get all of the juicy details. But what I'm particularly curious about is that transition from sex work to group facilitation, and like where was the end point in sex work, and that said there's something different, or I want out of this and I want to now translate. Because I imagine you were also, as you were a sex worker, I imagine you were primarily working with men, and now it sounds like your groups were primarily with women. And so I'm curious what the connection point is between working primarily with men to then working in groups with women.
I feel like my whole biography is driven by the search for the sphere of the highest energy, the sphere of the highest aliveness, the deepest aliveness. And for 2 years, I had the deepest encounters and the deepest lessons and the deepest gratitude for being human in the context of sex work. And I felt very vividly after 2 years, I'm full. It's enough. And during those 2 years as a sex worker, I was like, I won't do anything else with my life. This is just the best job ever. I was so in love with this work because I remember I could go immediately into some level of depth and energetic exchange with men or with humans. And culture wouldn't let me go there. Culture expected me to be in small talk and in university, etc. And I was like, no, I can go immediately into the depth I'm interested in. And I was so grateful for the setting. And after 2 years, I felt saturated. I felt like from now on, it would be repetition. And I stopped. Like from one day to another, I was like, I think I won't go there anymore. And I never went back. So it was really that much on point. But my hunger for finding a context where I can relate to people in a deep and meaningful way, the hunger for creating spaces where I want to be human amongst humans, the hunger for spaces that really go deep with this quest. How do I not waste my lifetime? Like just this hunger stayed with me. So I needed another setting. I needed another output. I needed another outlet for this, for this hunger in myself. Because again, I mean, we are not that different. I think you have been growing up in the American culture. I'm in the German one. However, it's westernized. It's civilized. So if we speak about civilization in this context, it's boring. So how do we create spaces where being human isn't boring, where we live up to the potential of the situation, where there is enough safety, enough consciousness, and enough risk, enough intensity, enough daring, enough failure. So yeah, I mean, being with women and dancing and getting in touch with our anger and with our secrets, etc. I think that's the next best setting to dive into this intensity. So, like, yeah, sex work is one form, and group facilitation is another form. But eventually, it is being as naked as possible, and it is about being an energetic gift to the very situation by trying not to stand in the way, not to block the flow of energy that wants to happen. So that's, I totally see it's one-on-one and with men, and it's in groups and with women. And at the same time, for me, it's like, yeah, of course, it's the same. So I get the question, and on the level of energy, it's just my expression of the point of the highest energy, the highest aliveness. And this is what I bow down to. This is what I dedicate my life to. I don't want to miss the intensity and aliveness that's available for us.
Oh, this is so beautiful. And there's so much here. I can feel the choice points and the forks in the road start to like mycelial network out. But what I want to name that is so beautiful about what you've shared, I have this experience as well, that part of my groups come from my challenge with social situations and them really not meeting or nourishing me, and my groups being like, okay, I'm going to create the social situation that I want to be in, and I'm going to invite you to come so that I actually feel safe and comfortable and met, and that I walk away leaving this exchange feeling, yeah, like this is the life I want to live. This is worth living. This is worth it. Or else I'd rather just be home alone. Like this. And so part of what I see facilitators do in that is this like reality creation. It's like, this is my reality and I want to invite you into it. Come play my game. Like, come be in this exploration with me. And so I'm curious now with your groups, like, what is the reality that you're inviting people into? What is it that people come to taste or experience, or what is the game you are inviting them to play?
Yeah, I love that. First of all, 100%. Yes, this is a space where I want to be breathing amongst humans and creating that. And yes, it's you facilitating a group, is you giving your energetic transmission that you are just by being yourself to a whole group, to a whole field, to a whole group nervous system. I think it's so beautiful. And I think it's it's magic and it's poetry in a way. I hope that one day we will be able to make that visible in some form of art. The majesty, the beauty, the kind of church that happens when humans gather in a group. I think it's a temple space every time.
Yeah.
And the kind of energetic transmission or metrics that I think people find in my groups is the joy and the thrill of full embodiment and life force flowing freely in their body. That's, I think, one part of the thing. And the other part of the transmission of the thrill is how easy it is. How easy it is. Because it's almost like, I think the door opener is not primarily the best method or the biggest, most extreme breath work or the loudest music. None of it. The biggest door opener is it's okay. You are so okay that you can deeply relax. And now go for it. I know you have been waiting for that for a few thousand years. Go for it. Go for it. There is a level of trust and a level of love and a level of joy and thrill and excitement in the space. It's almost like a fire that's just spreading across the room. And everybody is turned on, so to speak, after something like 5 minutes. It's very easy. So for me, when somebody would come in from the outside and see me doing some extreme stuff with all the people and everybody shaking and doing extreme wild movements, etc., they would think, okay, this needed a lot of preparation. It needed it needs like a secret gang or a secret code of people who have been training that or something. Nothing like that. In every seminar, it's open for everybody who has been there 5 times before and everybody who is a complete newbie. And it works. It works because the wilderness, your instincts, your truth, your essence, it's not far away. It's just this magic layer of permission that you have to give yourself or that somebody else has to give yourself, so to speak. And you are there. So this availability of our innate aliveness and how much we can use that to transform our everyday life, I think that's the transmission, that's the metrics, that's the world that we are entering. And it's a world usually it's a world where people do huge leaps and huge shifts and huge decisions around their truth and not being responsible for others more than for themselves. So that's the kind of flavor or the vibe of the work.
I love this. I love what you're saying, that it's like our human nature is so close and culturally looks so wildly different than what we're living in the mainstream, than the wacky, weirdo, hippie, things that we do when we come together in groups. People looking out from the inside, it would look like a zoo or something. Yeah. But like in reality, it feels so good. And I love that you're saying like, yeah, because it is. Because it is our nature. It's that close. It takes 5 minutes.
Yes.
But it's right there.
Yeah. And there is a push out of the comfort zone. I think when I'm listening to you, it's almost there are so many things from here, but I think people learn to facilitate groups with a very special, tailored teaching from their life that works only for them. So I have always been taught by my life, also in terms of trauma, in terms of challenge, and in terms of nobody will save you. Nobody will even understand you before you yourself have figured it out. So I learned in a very, very tough school, like truly very tough. And this is not what I put people through, of course, and I couldn't. I'm not life itself. I couldn't. But this is not what I put people through when they come to my groups. But I bring the fire and I bring this. You will have to sacrifice fucking everything. You won't want to do that. Welcome in the club. But you will have to do it. And one day you will do it because you know you realize that you create your own suffering by not sacrificing everything, like not going full in, by holding something back. So I bring a kind of intensity that comes from my teaching, from my past, from my, like, life has just beaten me up. And I was just, okay, baby, take it or leave it, die or live. It's up to you. We don't owe you anything. And there is something around this radical thing of, this is not you entering the space as a consumer. This is you entering the space as a walking contribution. And if you don't sign up for this game, there is no game to play, because we are never consumers. On an energetic level, it never works, consuming when you are participating in life. So there is something, there is a push, there is a fire, there is a radical thing around, we are not interested in the small story. We are not even interested in the so-called, I would say it once, in the small boundaries, because there is such a bigger game available to all of us if you step out of this comfort zone. So in the beginning, yes, it takes 5 minutes, and it takes a very easy method, and it takes you going with your full decision against your comfort zone, against your resting in this energetic reduction or depression that we call normal. So I think that's another layer. It's either me pushing somebody through into like, go away from your comfort zone, it's worth it, and somebody is there, or somebody going out of him or herself. However, I think that is another thing that has to happen. It's not being on the fence and seeing if it works. It won't work if you are on the fence. That's the principle. That's the thing. So I think that's another aspect why this whole thing can have so much power. It's going all in, as if you would have never doubted yourself, as if you would have never believed that you were small or insignificant, going that much in, and boom, it's right there.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. That was, I am so, I am so altered by the fire that you bring here to this conversation right now, and how all in, no holding back, just like full yes to life. There's no time, there is no room to be fucking small and play the small game. It's like, it's all or nothing in every moment. And I really hear that call in your words and your energy.
Yeah, and I think it's something that that of course everybody wants to embody, because everybody knows that this is one part of embodiment. The body doesn't hold back. The body doesn't play it with a half heart. The body is all in any moment. But I think it's then us exhaling or detoxing from all those layers of conditioning that made us be willing to be adjusted, or to be rather a copy and save, so to speak, instead of being all in, making one mistake after the other, but having a wild time. So
Yeah. Wow.
It's almost like one other way to put it, just in one more sentence. I see all of us walking into the room being very hungry, very hungry. I experience the hunger in the nervous system from everybody coming to the room. I see the rage, the suppressed rage in every energy system. And I see the pain for not having been able to having found a satisfying outlet for how much I want to give, and how much I love this life, how deeply I love this life. So I see those layers in all of us when we are gathering in a group. So the whole issue of facilitating a group comes down to which methods allow us to exhale as much culture as possible, as quickly as possible, with as little risk as possible, because we don't need unnecessary explosions. We don't need unnecessary overwhelm. But at the end of the day, it's exhaling all those layers of dust, all those layers of holding back, all those layers of shrinking. And underneath, it's every time, it's a big game. It's a big deal. Being alive, being a human is a big deal. There is no alternative. And it's almost like being uplifted by falling onto your knees. It's always the same movement. It's being so humiliated. You are just a quivering piece of flesh or piece of trauma even. And at the same time, that's the most liberating and uplifting momentum that you can have into yourself.
Yes. I was just talking to a friend this morning. I've been on quite a journey lately with my whole life, just burning to ashes, like this whole destruction. I was with a friend this morning who was in a similar journey, just like everything. And there was this like, it's so easy to be close to God here because there's nothing left. It's just like, there's just presence. I don't want to hold on to the past because there's nothing there. I have no idea if there is a future or what it looks like. So it's just in this nothingness, there is God. And it's such a twisted, backwards way to get there. It's the brain doesn't even, it's not intuitive. It's counterintuitive to what we would imagine how we would get there.
Yeah. We don't know what we are calling in when we are saying we want to be spiritual. So sorry. Nobody can want that. Like run. The moment that spirituality comes close, just run, baby. After that, you are on your own. It's amazing because it comes with this teasing game and this foreplay, and it's so turning you on. Like, oh yeah, and you have this experience, and your heart chakra is open. It feels so nice. And then, oh my God, you are this successful, young, sexy female group facilitator, and now you are on top spiritual. It sounds so good. And then the next chapter is coming up, and it just tears you into pieces.
Yeah.
And just just simply nothing is left. Simply nothing. And then you are like, spirituality is about being emptied out. And even this, everything in language sounds more pretty than the reality is. You cannot want that. You simply cannot want that. And life will get you. There is no shortcut. And like all of this, I will smart enlightenment out because I have the best tools. I'm in embodiment and trauma on top, and I have the best meditation method. Yes. Congrats. Another smart being trying to be there as fast as possible. We never saw that before. So I couldn't agree more. It's like at the end of the day, everything that adds something to your VC, that adds something to what you can be proud of, anything, is just a foreplay. It's just a foreplay. Eventually, this is systematic destruction, and life knows how to destroy and knows how to destroy you. It will get you, period. So, for example, I'm sitting here, and yes, I mean, you can see, okay, she's somehow having a space, having a computer, having colleagues, having some kind of career, so to speak. I come from a very, very, very similar phase like you. And it's like, truly, I have never felt closer to death, never felt closer to this moment. Might be the last moment. There is no birthright for a bright future. There is no birthright for any kind of identity being built up and everybody is applauding. At the same time, I have never felt more alive, more grateful, more soft, more at peace. So I totally hear you. And I think all those old traditions that we learn from when we learn about embodiment, I mean, all those body therapy methods that we use in the West, they don't come from nothing. They come from Tantra, they come from Taoism, they come from shamanic cultures, and they know that. They have always been saying, the moment that your house will be burned down, you will be able to see the moon. They don't say, oh, let's build a better house. They say you will be able to see the moon. If that's not enough, nothing will be enough for you. And that's about yourself. That's about you. It's not about the house. It's not about not burning it down. It's not about the moon even. So I totally see the responsibility. And I think also in our era of, in our coaching scene, maybe a phase, an era of transition, where we took it very serious to help the individual, to help the person, to even repair the person or help fixing it. And I think there is a responsibility that we have as group facilitators. For every gram that I invite the repair mechanism, I should invite a ton of destruction. For every gram that I invite the fulfillment of wishes, I should invite the sacred disappointment, because it has to happen sooner or later. So let it happen here where we can take care of each other. Let it happen here where we can learn from each other. If we have to die, let's die together, because it's way more loving, it's way more alive, it's way more truthful, it's way more upfront to die together than to hide in this pretty game of who is the sexiest in the room. So I feel I have a yes to deep healing work, but I have an even bigger yes if I have to choose, to destruction, to disappointment, to being naked, to even being unsafe. And I'm talking about myself and my position in a group. I would want everybody to feel safe all the time. However, I myself step into the space imagining I'm naked on every level, and I am underneath of eye level. This is not on eye level, and I'm certainly not the guru. I'm underneath of eye level, and that is where the transmission can flow into the space on a level that's deep enough for us to not having to prepare so much, but we can come from the very first moment. We can come from a very deep centered space that avoids as little as possible. So yeah, the ecstaticness after being burned, the ecstaticness after being destroyed, I think that's the biggest thing. And nobody signs up for any group anywhere in order to find that, but everybody wants to be there. So how do we hack it with another wording, with another invitation, but open the space to the sacred initiation?
Okay, again, choice point. How many different things can I open up? First, I just want to say this is a personal curiosity. How I can imagine for you, especially with someone with so much recognition in Germany, with so probably, I bet, pedestalized, with such an incredible vocabulary and way of holding and speaking and presencing, how do you come in this layer in a group? How can you hold that energy when the projection level is so high to counteract that force?
I think the answer is embodiment, because on the embodiment level, I always know when somebody is putting me on a pedestal that it isn't true, that it isn't even possible to be above somebody else. So, and I mean, my daily workout, I would be teaching methods that I learned at school or in my trainings if they would work for me well enough. But I make up my own method all day long because I fucking need it. So I'm my first student. I need it the most. So there is no day off in my training. There is no day off in my education. And that is why I stay naked all day long. It's just like every other mode is a mode of suffering that I don't want to add to the struggle in my life. So when somebody, for example, is putting me on a pedestal or is adoring me or is giving me compliments, I don't fight it. I like if it's completely over the top. I'm maybe like, for example, if you are now saying like such a big vocabulary and I'm like in every sentence that you are saying, Rachel, in the podcast, I'm like, one day I want to be able to speak English like she does, because I'm like my brain is on fire all day long, or in this podcast, just with managing to getting across my message, so to speak, in English. But besides that, when people are admiring things, I don't fight it, but I tune into this frequency and try to own it as well. Like, why not being somebody who is close to truth? Everybody is close to truth. So why not being there? Why shrinking? Why holding back? So I own the grandiosity as well when life is asking me to train that. But I don't believe it. I don't comfort myself with this. Oh no, but you are so beautiful. Oh no, but you are so talented, because I know at the end of the day, I'm feeding into a game where I'm the loser. As long as I'm trying or begging for self-esteem, I have an issue with self-esteem, and it won't get any better when I'm remembering the compliments from yesterday. So it's truly about embodiment, and in embodiment, everything is deleted. The self-hatred, the unworthiness, as well as the grandiosity. And eventually, only grandiosity, I don't know if grandiosity is the best word, but only the inner vastness and expansion will stay with us. But the way to this expansion is by falling onto our knees. It's by praying in front of the altar of life. So eventually, I listen way more to those people who humiliate me, who expose me to something that feels uncomfortable to myself. I'm learning way more from my enemies, so to speak, than from my fans. And I think that's also, there are layers of lessons, or maybe chapters of lessons, when you get a certain amount of fame, maybe especially as a woman when it comes to sex. There are chapters of lessons, and one lesson is also this addiction to think somebody else is better off than yourself has nothing to do with you. It's almost like a cultural trauma symptom. So the moment somebody is saying, oh my God, you were my guru, my teacher, whatever, I somehow see a nervous system in pain. That's what's happening. And so I think that's another layer of perception that makes it to some extent very easy instinctively to not buy into this game. And yes, maybe that's as a footnote. In my instincts, when I ask my instincts, my nervous system, if I wouldn't be cautious around how I navigate all those layers of projection and compliments, etc., this would be the strongest poison. This could mess it all up. If I would buy in this point, the Matrix would have me. So I think being very, very, very cautious, the more you are successful in the public eye, is incredibly important. Because this single piece where you are not doing your homework, where you are not uncomfortable with yourself, this single piece will mess it up. It's a very, very strong drug. If you don't pay attention, you will be the junkie for the rest of your life. Yeah.
I have to update your own self-esteem around your vocabulary, because it is fantastic. And
It's my day. Woo! I take that all in.
it's not only your vocabulary. No, it's also like your artistry with the phrases that you use, and there's like, I don't know, maybe someone else will have a better way to say this, but there's an art, and it's a poetry. You are poetic in your speaking, and in that poeticness, you invite me into new landscapes of images and ideas, and there's also some comedy there. It's like, I really enjoy, there is a certain level of intelligence that it takes to be so poetic with words. And especially not being a native English speaker, it's even more impressive. But with that, what I want to say and like speak to also, because I have this interesting curiosity around you where, when I first met you, I was like, oh my gosh, queen of embodiment. Like, you are so embodied, and there is so much of a mastery of your own embodiment. As you say, it's very evident for when someone is in a space with you of your level of connection and comfort and ease, and like
just knowing your body and what it needs and being in truth and attunement and alignment with that. But then the more I get to know you, this mind, just like, it's almost like this mind opens up and I'm just like, oh my God, the intelligence and the depth and the complexity and the art to which you think. And somehow in my limited perspective, I'm like, those two things can't coexist at the level at which they do in this human form that is you. But it certainly does. And I'm so curious where you find the most ease or comfort in yourself. Do you find it more in the embodiment or in the words? Because
Neither nor.
I want to know.
Yeah, neither nor maybe. I think to me, what comes to mind is like what made me so hungry in the first place and so disappointed, and so what has put so much pain into my nervous system, that I can't relate to humans in just settings that this culture offers to us, and I have a great time. Why doesn't it work? So I think it comes from a very vivid cellular remembrance of, this is not about this person having a good time. This is not about enjoying life. There is a depth of vibration in this universe that we are just embodying. We are an embodied vibrating universe. And this is about something. This is something big. It's a big deal. Let's go for it. Something like that. And this is in a model, maybe it's even beyond or above the mind. So the mind is just a reflection tool for this present, ever-present intensity that's humming in the background of our existence from the very moment of our birth. And then there is another tool for expressing that and for grounding that and for creating from there, which is our body. So to some extent, it's not body or mind, but it is the humming background, the, let's say, consciousness or beingness or whatever. And there are tools, there are levels of reverberation that we are gifted with, that we are, and that is a mind, and that is a body. And I think neither my mind nor my body have taken on this challenge to embody something like that in a light way, or without sacrifices, or without failure, or without pain. So it's not a healthy embodiment. Like, I'm not an embodiment teacher because I'm talented, but because I'm so not talented. I'm the burning, the fracture, the pain, the wounding is always the dominant thing in my awareness.
Yeah.
In my mind as well as in my body. So I think maybe somebody being fully radiant and comfortable in their own skin and so in tune with their own needs and have zero issue with putting boundaries, communication, brilliant mind, maybe that can't coexist. But my brokenness of my body and the brokenness of my mind, that for sure can coexist, because it's almost a reflection of each other. It's two systems that deeply struggle and still struggle. And all the goal comes from the struggle. I don't want to glamorize it. However, I deeply trust life. It's almost like in presence we trust. It's like period. It's not in presence we trust as long as there is sunshine. In presence we trust, period. And one day there will be the present moment where you are dying. In presence we trust, period. Full stop. End of the sentence. And it's in the same way. It's like trusting life, even in those layers of struggle. I consider that to be something essential. And so where do I find the most ease? It's almost like flipping it all around. It's not the comfort zone, but the softness and the surrender and the gratitude and the flow comes from sinking back into the arms of life, period. And not by interviewing myself, if it's something that's easy for me. So, so there is a level of ease, but it is definitely not something that we want to transport when we use in our language this ease or the where are you at home? Like the underworld, maybe in the night, who knows? But eventually, like everybody is. So let's read there. We are all survivors. We are all fucked up. We are all brilliant. Let's meet there.
Gosh, it's refreshing. Thank you. I'm so tickled, and there's a vibrating aliveness that you bring that is contagious. So thank you. I love your answer. I think I could ask you any question. I could even try to sabotage my question and you would still give me an answer I love. But what is so, like, if anyone is listening, whoever is listening to this, maybe by now you understand why I've chosen to co-create an experience alongside Ilan called Sacred Fire Awakening Primal Power. If it's not evident by the energy that is pulsing through the aliveness of this being, and it's so beautiful because I didn't even intend for these themes to come through. This conversation is just us kind of talking, but they're so inherently in the very fabric of our conversation and of our beings. Is this fire? Is this phoenix from the ashes? Is this destruction? Is this darkness? Is this depth? And so I would just love to consciously talk a little bit more about your relationship and the desire to pull that through this new group work that we will contribute to together. And like, what is lighting you up most about this new offering?
Yeah, it's like I remember very, very precisely the stages of our brainstorming and then giving some text to it and the visual, etc. And there is something like, let's make visible what life is about. Because it's so easy to come into group spaces and trying to have an extraordinary experience. And yes, I mean, for sure, we will be having an extraordinary time together. But to some extent, we want this extraordinary intensity to be the new normal. And there is something where we can't address our human issues from what a human truly is in the essence. We can't address our issues with our body coming from the perception what a body truly is, because everything is sabotaged. Everything is intoxicated with these cultural ideas. So what I'm interested in is this, how much you can or how easily you can step into this essence, and how much this means unleashing this inner wilderness, this inner intensity. And doing that in a group container, I think, is incredibly generous from all of us, because it's so much easier for all of us. And it's almost like once and for all, unlearning the game of trying to be pretty, unlearning the game of trying to be right, unlearning the game of trying to be even somebody. Even wanting to be somebody is a sabotage. It is sabotaging the intensity that wants to happen. So I think us co-creating this space together it's an amazing riverbank for everything that wants to unfold there. And it's truly what I feel passionate about, is this, how much, like, the best party starts when we have let go of being interested in what we want to experience. So to some extent, it's almost, we need this at least flavor or at least moment of transpersonal expansion of consciousness before we can truly enter the space, before we can truly make use of the playground. And that's, for me, something, again, I feel like it's incredibly easy to communicate with you around these topics of the transpersonal instead of the personal as a focus, or the collective instead of the individual as a focus, or as a flavor at least. But I think in the global field of group facilitation, etc., it's still a thing that we are going into this transition of making it more visible what we co-create when we stop being that interested in ourselves, how much it's satisfying ourselves and us personally the moment we let go of trying to be satisfied on a personal level. So that's one stream of passion that's going into this project.
Yeah, I love this. And I think another way I like to say this, because so many people come to spaces and they're like, oh, the transpersonal, and let's be in the transpersonal, and they leave themselves to try to enter something, forgetting that you only enter the transpersonal by being completely and utterly in your personal self. Like the transpersonal is accessed through the personal. So it occurs to me to say that because I see that that's also the essence of what you're saying here, to be so fully committed to this thread that through there we go up and we access greater states together.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to, if we master this one thing, everything will unfold. And this one thing is stop avoiding the essential stuff. Stop avoiding. And nobody is disembodied just out of habit. Everybody is disembodied because there is something that's avoided and that would come up if you would be fully embodied. So it always comes down to stop running from yourself. And if you manage that, everything will come up and everything will unfold. And eventually it's still our language saying, oh, the transpersonal or the personal. It's still our language saying, oh, it's Rachel or it's the goddess. In the end, Rachel will not come around it. She is the goddess. But nothing of what she considered to be Rachel is positioned in the same way as before when this transition in perception happens. So it's completely, it's one and the same. But but on our journey towards that, we are always, or I think often, we often have to remind ourselves, come back into our body, just because that's where the gold is, that's where the blood is, that's where the trauma is, that's where the intensity is, just everything. The human body as a walking universe. It's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to be underestimated.
No, and this is where this topic is so alive for me now too, leading groups, and particularly with the state of our culture and the world and the amount of repression and the amount of constriction and contraction around these somehow red energies of passion, of aliveness, of rage, of anger, of sexual life force. Is like the amount that is suppressing those, and the amount of okayness that we've calloused on top of not actually being fully expressed, and what the kind of the lava that is building underneath this callus of a human experience is both mystifying and exciting, and I also feel deep grief and sadness about it. And I couldn't be more. I feel very grateful to you for being a yes to going here with me.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's a time we can't, especially coming from this culture, we have so many resources that are maybe that even women or even humans have for the very first time in human history. And let's make good use of these resources, because there are many other aspects where we are not that strong. We are not strong in terms of education. We are not strong in terms of maturity. We are not strong in terms of really survival. We are very weak. We are very naive. The westernized cultures are very stupid, so to speak. So all we have is our heart. All we have is our passion. All we have is our desperation. We don't have the best teachings. We don't have the wisest traditions, because those wise traditions are still kept secret from this exploitation by capitalism. So we all we have is our burning. all we have is this breaking open. But this is at the same time, I think, what creates the biggest impact that a human can create on an individual and a collective level, and across time and space, beyond time and space. So I think it's this being broken open, either by own bravery or by desperation or by life, because you didn't want but you had to anyway. I think that's the sacred crack, or that's a cracking open that everybody wants to hear and everybody is craving for.
Mm. 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 Yeah, I'm almost feeling like that was the final I feel complete and satisfied and satiated, but I also want to say if there's anything else that you have, but I feel I'm in a peace in my heart and a gratitude and a joy for how you've opened me in this.
Yeah, thank you for this cosmic walk. There is nothing that I need to add, but I would like to rephrase something from the end.
Yeah.
That is, like, never underestimate what a human is, how much it is of a big deal that you exist, with all your misery, with all your self-hatred, with all your belief systems around being small. I know how it feels. Never underestimate how much this is a big game, and without an alternative. There is no small game. Every small game is an illusion. And by being used in our culture to think of the human as somebody who is comparably small, the process of opening up to who you are will be accompanied by terror and fear. You will be afraid. You will be afraid. You will try to hide from what is opening up inside. So not only being there for each other, like accompanying each other when it comes to the struggle and the contraction and the dark stuff, but also not letting each other alone, but caretaking for each other when we are opened by life and trembling because it's so vast and so intense. I think that's another part of the mastery that we are called to live up to in this era and in the future. Because if we are only getting better in having processes, congrats is better than nothing, but becoming better in taking a bath, a cosmic bath, or being in this much of what comes after being broken open. This vastness. I think having that as a part of the public conversation around what is challenging about being human, it's another aspect that I see dawning in our future, and I think it's important that we open the space for that as well. Like, I'm not overwhelmed by my shadow, I'm overwhelmed by my ecstaticness. So am I safe with the sharing with you, or am I only safe when I'm sharing about my trauma? I think we need to be safe with each other, with the whole spectrum. With the whole spectrum. It's urgent. I mean, it's globally speaking just fucking urgent.
I'm so touched and inspired and delighted to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you for the gift you are. You are the gatekeeper of the darkness. And there's such a well of richness there that you guard and protect and bring into the light. I'm humbled and in deep reverence of your wisdom, Ilan.
Thank you, Rachel. And vice versa. I deeply, deeply adore you.
Thank you so much, Ilan, and thank you for listening to this episode of In Presence We Trust. If you enjoyed listening to this dialogue between myself and Ilan and find yourself curious and wanting more, I can highly recommend joining us this November just outside of Berlin for our upcoming retreat, Sacred Fire, Awakening Primal Power. This event is an immersive, spiritual, and somatic pilgrimage that rekindles your connection to the primal energy lying dormant within you. This journey is an initiation to the depths of your soul, where you're invited to reclaim the raw, untamed vibration of aliveness and the pure, sacred life force that pulses through your being. During this 4-day immersion, November 20 to 24, we will walk the path of full self-responsibility, awakening the courage and divine audacity to embody our truest essence. This is meant to be a holy rite of passage, a revelation of the eternal truth etched into your cells, your body, and your spirit. Until next week, check out my website for more information on upcoming courses with myself and the interview guests. There's always links in the show notes. Special thank you to all the beings who have contributed to the creation of this podcast: Michelle, Vaishnavi, Joby, Lavinia, and the sound fields, Thomas and John. And thank you again for joining me as we continue the journey and open up this new communal space and learning environment that is In Presence We Trust. You can find the community group where ongoing dialogue continues on Facebook. And you can also subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to like and comment below. Until next time, deep breath.